What's up, people? We made it another week. This is episode 23 of Sports Debate Tuesday. And for Rob McLean, keep it McLean. I'm Jason DeBias, and we got to give the people what they want. Rob's like, brush your teeth, man. You're going to be smiling at people like that. So, hey, we had our whole episode planned. Everything was smooth. And then what happened Sunday night, Monday morning, they hit us with this news. They hit us with this good nonsense, if there is such a thing. So let's get to topic number one. It was something else, but we're moving on up, all right? At long last, after quietly being released by the Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton flew under the radar, waited for his time, passed the physical, and now has signed a one-year contract with the New England Patriots. Rob, what is your reaction, and how much of this is a fit for Cam Newton and Bill Belichick? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the fact that it happened. I don't know how much of a fit it was for the last offense that was created for Tom Brady year after year after year, but I'm completely sold on the fact that they can figure out a way to utilize Cam Newton's every last ability. Whether it's on defense, whether it's on offense, the Patriots are always going to be able to put themselves in positions, into the right positions to succeed. So for them to get an MVP caliber player who, honestly, we don't even know when we're gonna see a football game again. I mean, it could be the next season, which gives him optimal time to be able to heal, get back to a position where he can show what level he can still play at age 30, 31. But right before he left, he was playing at one of the best levels you could play. And again, that's a short sample size, so it'll probably, the numbers will probably dim down a little bit, but that was a great sample size. So if you create a new offense around, short passes with a strong arm quarterback who's smart enough to understand and get the ball out of his hands and then also be able to run down the field, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for the Patriots, and I think the AFC is on guard.
The AFC and the AFC East has been put on notice, Rob McLean. They have been put on notice, and I'll tell you why, because this man has had optimal years and he's had terrific years and nothing much in between. Even the seasons where he was below 500, the man was out there fighting all the time with less talented teams. And when he had a team that had a decent wide receiver, when he had a team that had a one pounding running back, when he had a team that had a defense that bent and didn't break, when he had a team that was actually pretty good on defense, those records were 12-4. I believe one season he finished 15-1. His Super Bowl year, his MVP year. And ladies and gentlemen, they got rid of a 44-year-old quarterback who managed to stay injury-free. He's with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Out goes Brady. In comes Cam Newton, who has a much better arm than Tom Brady, who has much better legs. That's not even a topic of debate. Who has better legs. All right, there were questions about his shoulder, his throwing shoulder, and he passed the physical. The questions about one of his knees, passed the physical. And those are two of the things he did really well. So it's really, really good that Bill Belichick kept all of this under wraps until actually it was March 31st he passed the physical, but I think there were other things that were going on. And now they sprung it. And now a team that we thought was going to finish 4-12 in the AFC has can instantly be 12-4. I'm going to put up the schedule right now. So this is a pretty good, this is, all things considered, this is not an easy schedule, but I do see a 10-6 out of this. I think they'll be 5-1 in their division. I think they're going to split the difference with the Buffalo Bills. So that's 5 wins right there. I think they'll beat the Raiders. I think they'll beat the Rams. I think they'll beat the Chargers, and whichever one they get their one win, be it the Texans or other. I think they have a really good shot at finishing 10-6. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, the Dolphins is probably an easy game in the first part of the season, but at week 15, it's probably, they're probably looking the best they're going to look all year. So that could be a
Them
tough
boys play
game
for
as
that
well.
coach.
So
Those guys play for that coach, don't they?
that's what I mean. And,
God,
and they just got Tua, so they're just feeling good about it. You don't know how good he's going to be. Probably not week 1, but week 15, it could definitely be a different story. So
I agree.
definitely an interesting schedule.
All right, so I guess since we're still on this subject, I have, if let's talk about concerns. Concerns are will Cam hold up in the season due to his injuries? And for me, I'll go first on that. I think the answer is yes, because if you consider the schemes that Bill Belichick and their offensive coordinator use to protect the quarterback, a quarterback that's not mobile, I think they'll do the same for Cam Newton. So it's not the same as running for his life, which creates these little rushing plays where the refs have been derelict in protecting quarterbacks like Cam Newton and Ben Roethlisberger because they're big and because they're physical. You sneeze on Tom Brady, you're gonna get a flag for 15 yards, for Christ's sake. So take his mobility and him being able to scan the field under good tutelage. I think physically he's going to be all right. My question to you, and this is, and you can answer the physical question in tandem, but I wanted to give you a 2-in-1 question. How do you think he's going to handle Bill Belichick's, the way Bill Belichick handles his own players? He does call his players to the carpet, and I'm not saying Cam Newton's not mentally tough, but there is a gray area between talking to someone like a man and the way that Bill Belichick lays into his own people. From as you could see, he's an equal opportunity ass kicker. He doesn't like not do it with someone. It's pretty even across the board. Your thoughts on the physical and the mental route?
Well, for me, I think that physically, the Patriots in the best position because they had a guy who they really do want to see start and mature into something great. So if they're stuck with Ryan Stidham, I mean, that's not a terrible thing because that's the guy who they want in the first place. But if Cam holds up, they have a best possible opportunity to do, like you said, 12-4 or 10-6 or, even 9-7, in that division could win.
Yeah. Let's show the people one more time.
And then, mentally, I feel as though Cam Newton is probably the best candidate. That's why I was very interested why it took so long. But then you think about the medical concerns and all the things to make sure it all checked out. But yeah, I think that Cam Newton is mentally the right type of player, especially in the time of his career, because I feel like physically the type of player he is, like a Brendan Roethlisberger, it's not going to end at, age 31, as long as he changes his game, as long as he's not a, 15, to 20 attempt, down the field running the ball. He needs something to use his legs to get away from, to break sacks, to stay in the ability to throw the ball still, because you got to think you still got a Julian Edelman on the team. You still got a guy, you still have people who are around Gronkowski when he was playing, so you understand how to get open, how to play the tight end position correctly. So if you can create the opportunities with your feet to pass the ball as opposed to just to run every single time, like maybe more of Russell Wilson, he can transform his game, especially with his arm power. So I definitely feel like he will be able to utilize all the things that Belichick is telling him to become a better quarterback. Because I feel as though Belichick makes the quarterback a better quarterback by him being such a great defensive coordinator. Being able to throw things at them in practice and make them understand the situations. I don't think there's anything that Cam can't do, and I think it's going to be crazy to see the development of him as a quarterback.
Yeah, man, I am so looking forward to this. Listen, I got the right shirt. All right. So before I finish with this, or maybe have something to add, I will remind the people out there that I am a Buffalo Bills guy, and I am a New Yorker by nature, or not by nature, by birth. And not all of my opinions are going to be completely objective about this. All right. With my boyfriend gone to Tampa Bay, I could definitely be a little bit more objective with the Patriots, but I do see Buffalo. I did have Buffalo beating them twice before Cam Newton came. I thought Stidham was going to be a learning curve, and I thought Buffalo was going to run away with this division 11-5. But now I see both teams finishing 10-6, and we'll see how it goes. But I really love what's going on with the Buffalo Bills because you have to, I mean, in order to talk about the Patriots' success, you have to talk about that competition and the AFC East, which was called the AFC least for a long time. They're not so quick to lay down and die, right? I mean, if you look, you want to talk about least division, talk about the NFC East, all right? Where the most loaded team doesn't even win the division, right? You got Miami, a not so talented team that fought for their coach. You got the Jets. I don't trust these USC quarterbacks not so much, but I do trust Le'Veon Bell, and I do trust Jamal Adams, who's going to stay with the Jets. And then you got this guy, the Buffalo Bills, who everybody knows is not in the division to kiss the ring, but at the same time, unlike Rex Ryan, you acknowledge that without putting a target on his back. Like everybody respects this guy. You got a pretty stout running game. You got rid of all the drama queens, stout defense, quarterback that could do whatever. And I love what you said about Cam Newton because between you and me, we're not asking him to be a pure pocket passer either. We're just not asking him to create plays that avoid him running for his life. I think an occasional piston play, what I thought Kaepernick has done a great job of showing how everyone can do this in the NFL because it was just a college play. Like the pros are like, get that college stuff out of here. That's not going to work. That don't work out here, boy. Guess what? It does. It does, and it gets you to the Super Bowl.
And that's the thing is, though, it does win, but eventually the league is going to win. That's why it's not sustainable. And I was thinking about is that, well, he's a big body guy, and it's great. And you have to think of it in two ways. It's great when you're on the offensive as a big body guy, but if you're someone who's not trying to create contact because you're trying to protect your shoulder or you're trying to, not have full-on collision and contact, like even being elusive, you're not always going to miss that big hit. So the more you keep running, just like Michael Vick always found that, the more you keep running, you're going to be in those situations, especially downfield, high speed situations where you can't really protect yourself. You can only avoid or get hit. And as a bigger bodied person like Cam Newton, you have so many more places to get nicked or hit hard because you have a large hit area in the middle of your chest.
And clip low, man. You need your legs, man. Even mobile quarterbacks need their legs, man.
The knees, the ankles, and the bigger you are, the more pressure it is on that stuff. And it's just so many things where you just have to utilize it correctly. Like Colin Kaepernick. He utilized it correctly to a point, but then he started to only run all the time and not throw the ball, and his receivers didn't get open. In
a league that's going to sooner or later figure it out, like you said before. There's just too many coaches, full-time coaches, watch in the video room. Video, yeah, right? You can't, this one thing ain't going to work forever, so.
And if it does, they're trying to do it on their offense. They're trying to do it in their team, and they're trying to figure out, well, if it works for them, let us work for us. And they're trying to figure out the inner workings of it. So it has to really be a system, just like when the West Coast offense came out for the first time. Everybody's like, well, this is working, but how do we beat it? There goes the 3-4 defense, so it's just everything it kind of evolves,
No doubt. Yo, and my question to you is, how many mobile quarterbacks who use their legs to win games, how many of them you see win a Super Bowl?
Not very many.
Steve Young was the last one I remember. That's a long time ago.
But he was still a quarterback, and he wanted to run, but his offense wasn't predicated off of running. And again,
no, it was the West Coast. It was a West Coast weave.
Yeah, it was. He wants to run because he's athletic, but he was such a good quarterback. And I think I'll put a lot of that on him being like a lefty, but he put a lot of emphasis on how good he was as a thrower, and then he just wanted to. He was a show-off kind of guy. He wanted to, be that star. He didn't want to be throwing to the star. He wanted to be that guy.
I really like that, and I loved his ambition. I mean, look, you have someone like Joe Montana when he leaves. Normally when he leaves, that puts the franchise down for a decade. And Steve actually ended up getting to the NFC Championship game a couple of times, actually winning the Super Bowl, as a result of it. And good. I'm so glad that he held on long enough to cement his legacy. 6 touchdown passes in a Super Bowl game, which is, I believe, ties the record or is still a record. So And of course, let's remember Cam Newton did make it to a Super Bowl. So, as far as making it to a Super Bowl is concerned, someone that uses their legs, but still looking for that winner because, like you said, in the 16-game season and then the season after that, there's just too many guys working full time, figuring out how to bring you down. It's too many guys, right?
Too many.
Yep.
And you got 11 on the field that you're trying to run away from. So It's not like everybody's blocking downfield,
We might have a coach or a trainer trip a player or two too.
Right?
Off the field, just kind of.
Who knows?
Boom. Whoops.
Quick little Tomlin, we call it.
I can't even, I still can't even believe he did that. Like, he's my favorite. This is the coach of integrity. This is the man who everybody respects. And if I came to you the next day and I said, yo, Rob, guess which coach tripped a player on special teams? You would have been like Rex Ryan or Wes Paul or something like that, the special teams coach. But Tomlin would have been your last guess.
I know.
Tom and Bill, because I don't think Bill can physically do it.
But they had to have had that camera, and they look down at the foot, and then they pan out, and they're like, "Wait, who? No, Mike, come on."
That's got to be our come on man moment.
That's our come on man moment.
A come on man flashback. It's just you're embarrassed for this man because he has integrity. All right, so hey. Whew, God, I could go NFL forever, man. I'm so looking forward to them coming back.
Right.
All right, the NBA. All right, and the NBA has announced their restart schedule, with the first game being July 30th. Now they're setting up shop in Orlando. 22 of the NBA's 30 teams will play it out for playoff seeds. At this point, they're all going to the playoffs, but they're just playing for seeding. So I guess my question is, and it's a general question, we can delve into the other. Is the NBA so far getting this right?
It's so difficult to say. I feel as though they are not, only because it's very difficult to find a place in the United States right now that is what they were calling going on the decrease for a certain amount of time. And then even in that amount of time, they have to be scheduled games over a period of time. So it's very difficult in the format of just having a playoff series for them to get it over with quickly, right? It has to be like for a UFC card, it's one night, it's one area where they have a bunch of fights in a row. For them, it's going to be a month, 2 months of the same people going into the same gyms and I get it's good like that with the whole quarantine first. But if anybody is asymptomatic and they catch on to anybody who won't be asymptomatic, it's going to be something, and Florida is a bad place right now to be in if it's talking about coronavirus. So having everybody fly to Florida, even if you're staying there, it might not even be able to get out. So in that essence, I don't think it's the smart thing, but I want to see basketball. I just want them to be as safe as possible. It's just very difficult to see how in the format of us being able to stay in a single area for 2 months, how that's going to be the safest for, a virus that's moving. We really don't know that much still about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems as though maybe if other sports in our country are able to, push the season off to the next year, then maybe they should, follow suit as well.
Yeah, definitely a bunch of players have already opted out, and nobody. The good thing is nobody's vilifying anybody for that. If you're either
Absolutely.
in or you're out, and I think a lot of them. Once LeBron James said he was in, I knew a lot of the players would be in lockstep with him because he is the leader of the free world, if not the NBA.
I'm the unsung.
Yeah, and I think my answer is they're handling this as right as anyone can.
Right.
I mean, if you are trying to figure out a way to do this, the first thing you're going to do is look at the science, right? Because everything on social networks, oh, trust the science. And the crazy thing is, you got people not even reading the science saying trust the science, you know. And you ask them what they mean, they can't tell you. Science says stay inside. No, it doesn't. The science says keep a certain distance away from people, and if you are closer than that said distance, wear a mask. Is the mask designed for you to prevent you from getting COVID? No, but does the mask prevent you, if you have COVID, from giving it to somebody else? Higher percentage wise, the answer is yes. So the reason people out there, when people get mad at you for not wearing a mask, it's not because of what you can get, it's what you can give them. You know what I'm saying? Because they can wear a mask, you cannot wear a mask, and you could sneeze and they'll still get it. But if you wear one and if you have it, it's a preventative thing. So the science is right on that. Now, with that being said, the NBA is looking at every major franchise that is getting this right, or during major sporting events like the UFC, like soccer, and having a minimal amount of COVID positive cases. Okay, because the objective is to not have none. That's not a reality. That's where I trust the science. The science says the reality is that not everybody. Someone's gonna come down with it. Now, the science, Rob, combined with reality and assumed risk, is what I'm talking about. The science says X is what the safe thing to do. The reality is we cannot stay in our house till a vaccine comes, which can be a year, and that's only for one of the strands. That's not a reality. So that's the science, that's the reality. Now, now I can talk about assumed risk. Assumed risk, if you do this with 500 players, you're probably going to have 23 or 24 cases. Now, if you're willing to assume that risk, then play, because that's the American way. All right, they're in a bubble, so they're not getting out there and getting other people affected. They have a 3-week isolated camp where they're testing 3 times in a 3-week period to see if anyone has it going in. All these things are not guaranteed to keep someone from catching COVID, but the science, and I'm using science when it's convenient for my argument, I will admit that. If the science says this is the best way to do it, mixed with the assumed risk, my grade from A to F is, I give them a B. I give them a B or B plus. They assume the risk and everybody's down. And the people that aren't are out, right? There's no law that says you have to leave your house and do this. If your wife's pregnant and you want to be there for your wife when she has the baby, be there for your wife. There are more important things in life than basketball. But just because there are more important things in life than basketball doesn't mean that basketball should not exist. I mean, I'm not completely one side or the other on this. I'm mixed. I don't even think I answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, I just I don't want it to be to a point where, these guys get sick and then, you find out that it's different or it's worse than what it could be, where we don't even know what happens after, the first testing, or, if there's anything later related to it. I just think it would be better off us understanding what we're dealing with people not having it as opposed to people having it.
Right.
And again,
and the test kits aren't even reliable, right? I mean, they're not even completely, how could I say, faulty? Not faulty.
Well, and that's why I'm saying if we're starting to restart our economy, or if we wanted to restart our economy to, help the virus, or, to help quell the virus, where Bauer and other places were helping make ventilators and stuff like that. I think that this is where we need to be able to, mobilize our economy and be able to use it towards purposes, as opposed to just it only makes money, and unless you can make money, you can't get into that system.
Right.
So,
yeah,
it's just very concerning, because it's basically, and this for a lot of things, it's up to public opinion whether or not it's good enough, or whether or not it's enough to take seriously. And that shouldn't be up to social media trolls. Whether or not things are taken seriously or not.
Agreed.
So.
Yeah, and the reason why the opinions are split down the middle is because both opinions are based on facts. The opinions which lead to, the facts which lead to assumed risk is where the opinions go left and right. You know what I'm saying? One goes this way and one goes that way. One's like, I see the risk. I'm not willing to assume them. I'm good. I'm here. I'm playing video games. I'm watching horse. Okay. I'm watching cornhole on ESPN. And then some people are like, you know what? I can't hide behind this. I can't hide forever. You know what I'm saying? I make sure my grandma don't live in the house with me, or anyone who is, according to the science, is more vulnerable to this. And they assume the risk. And that's where democracy is taking is actually getting it. I think they're getting it right. I just think for the people who don't want in on this, don't leave your house. It's okay. You know, don't leave your house because this ain't gonna go away, and this ain't gonna go away in a year, and we can't stay in our house. We cannot stay in our house for a year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, we're being very reactive. I feel as a society. In just regards to this coronavirus, because it took a long time, and there was a lot of pushback for a long time about the coronavirus until that caught on because everybody got fed up. I get it. I don't want to stay inside either. But again, are we going to say like saying, just going out and saying herd immunity when other people don't agree to that? You know what I mean? That's the other side of the argument. So honestly, we can go back and forth in semantics because semantics aren't really, the solution. The solution is right in the middle. And I honestly believe that just because that this is the answer that's out here doesn't mean that it was in the middle.
Right.
I mean,
or even the right answer. Right.
Well, but right or wrong, I don't think there's ever a right answer because everybody's going to feel a certain way. Yep. But let's just look at what was happening at that time. And at that time, this was the right answer. At this time, right now, we should go back right now to where we were. It should be stay at home right now after all of the reports that are coming out about how many cases are in this country right now. But we're going to slowly figure out what to do. Yeah.
Well, the other reality is the purpose was to, what did they call it? Flatten the curve. Mm-hmm. Flatten the curve for the people listening. Flatten the curve basically means when you get it, not if, because they're going to people are just going to get it. And that's the reality. The hospitals are not overrun. So if the curve is flattened, like you said, I think there's certain phases where you return to normalcy. I think there are certain states that got that wrong. And now they're really, like, if you look at Florida right now and if you look at Texas right now, who were doing so well in the beginning, I really thought and this is where I support your argument, because you can't mess with the results, right? I mean, we're not looking into the future right now. We're looking into the present and how the past led up to this present and where they are right now. We can see that there were a ton of mistakes made, And now I believe the Florida governor is trying to shut things down, and Texas is going into full shutdown. A lot of the volleyball leagues that were open are now closed, and I feel bad for beach volleyball because that's minimal. These are like elite athletes and in these minimal minimal participation settings. Right.
Yeah, but again, we as volleyball players, beach volleyball players, need to know this. We play an entertainment-based sport.
Yeah.
When we go on the beach and there's nothing else going on in the entire world, and we're playing an exciting, entertaining, fan-driven sport, what do you think is going to happen? It might not happen today. It might not happen in a week. But when no one has nothing to do for 2 months, like if we were playing beach volleyball this whole time, there would be massive crowds everywhere,
right? Looking
for anything to find anything to do to get their mind off things.
It's really tough for beach, huh? Because beach. The purpose of beach is attracting these
exactly
zombie
tourists,
apocalyptic crowds.
People from outside of we go to upstate, California and inland and stuff like that to see the mountains. Everybody else comes to the beach. You know what I mean? So we're nice, it's nice and all here, but we have to understand there's a lot of people coming from outside in, and that's where things have a highway to travel.
Very interested to see this Amazon Prime thing. Yeah. Right.
So.
Yeah, and Amazon Prime's going to be with no fans. It's going to be a 3-week series. We talked about that last week. The AVP.
Yeah.
Right. I'm interested. You're just like, I remember I got your opinion on that,
Well,
and
I'm just wondering if they're going to fly in, 2 weeks before, or are they doing testing, or they, what are the
that would be the
preventative
smart thing to do,
measures?
right?
Well, I mean, that would be I don't know how they're getting mandated to be allowed to be in New York as a live event or an event at all,
Right.
without, some preventative measures. So I
Yeah.
would be very interested to wonder, what they would do. So maybe other leagues, that AVP that follows AVP and that would love to play beach volleyball could follow those procedures to get back to, the beach as quickly as possible and as safely as possible.
Yep. And
So
honestly, if they follow the format like the UFC did, that doesn't make it completely safe. I will not make that a logical leap. But again, where I'm talking about minimizing the cases. I'm not talking about 0%. All right, because you can stay home and go to the store and come back and get it. I mean, even doing all the right things, you can get this. That's why I'm all about assume risk, because eventually they're just gonna get it anyway, and you can do everything right. You could do everything the government's telling you to and still get it. All right, unless someone's delivering to your door, and unless you sanitize the food that's being delivered to your door, and unless you can find ways, that a cashier or someone, or people delivering the stuff, or just being at the wrong place, wrong time. I mean, you could do everything right and still get this. It sucks.
right, but the probability of that is a lot different than
Yeah.
somebody, going to a place where people are coughing and people are getting sick. So I think, again, assumed risk is, I do
I'm not
agree
talking about
with that.
crowds. Sorry,
No,
Rob. I
no,
wasn't
but
talking about crowds. Fans participation.
yeah, but I mean, it's still just the fact that you're going to be in New York City. You're going to be in a place where there are that many people. And I think this is probably the best place to go, knowing right now, but to have this planned for the last month and
No,
a
they're going to
half
Long
that we're going
Beach.
to go to New York City, that's
Sorry,
you're
Rob.
going to Long Beach. I think it's all up here,
Oh.
but I didn't know.
Ooh, okay. Let's find out about that later, man. Jeez.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Jesus.
But
I think
yeah,
New York
just,
City right now, I mean, it might be the
Long
place
Island.
to go. Oh, Long Beach, Long Island. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Long Beach. You said Long Beach?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so-
they didn't say, you're right, they didn't say, jeez. I was like, wait a second, could that be Long Island? All right. Well, that's another fun thing to talk about. We're gonna get back into
We're gonna figure
volleyball
it out.
later, but for now, we're gonna talk about the UFC. Once again, I sound like someone who's constantly repeating himself every time the UFC puts on one of these shows. But once again, they promise a good show and they promise good fights, big fights and good fights. And once again, the UFC, Dana White has delivered. All right. Yeah. Every time there's a UFC Fight Night, they deliver. They put on and this one they put on a terrific card. And I'm highlighting the main event between Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker, a fight that Morton delivered on its promise for Fight of the Year. And you and me probably already have like 3 candidates for that. I mean, I think there were 3 on one card.
Right.
The last time around. So Rob, I'd like to go first on this because I'm going basic B on this. Like which one stuck out the most to me? So my answer is the main event. Dan Hangman Hooker against Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Both fighters on impressive winning streaks. In fact, Poirier had the interim belt and I believe had a 7-fight winning streak all the way up to losing to Khabib, which, like if you consider the losses on Khabib's record, no, wait a minute, he hasn't lost. Okay, that's not a whole bad thing, but now this man's has been driven to be the undisputed champion. He tasted interim gold and it felt good in his tongue, and he's thirsty and now he wants more. Dan Hangman Hooker has been thirsty from the beginning. Israel Adesanya out of his camp, and all of these guys right now have been 15-1 in their 16 fights. Basically his whole camp. So right now they're doing, how these camps catch fire for like a year, Sarah and Longo, BJJ, like all of the guys are winning in 1 year. And then Ronda Rousey, their camp's winning. Then Greg Jackson, right now it's his camp. They're 15-1 in their last 16 fights. And this is a fight that could have went either way, that I thought was decided in the 5th round. I thought Dustin took the first 2, and I thought Hangman took the next 2. And at the end, Dustin had top position on a missed takedown and just started giving them noogies at the end to secure it. But I was very impressed at the technique, because most of the time when you see a fight of the year, people assume it's a stand-up. They were right. When you hear a fight of the year, you assume people were trading shots. They were right. But what you don't hear is the technical boxing and kickboxing that's involved in it. Most of the time, you just see two guys bite down in their mouthpiece and swing, and everybody's like, oh, give him a beer. Oh, give him a beer. Fight of the year, you know? I'm not like that. I'm not an MMA level 1 purist, but I am a purist in the classic sense of the word, that I like to see mixed martial arts. And with that being said, that's my pick, because when they hit each other, it was technically sound, and when they decided to load up, it was shoot to kill, Rob. And some of these shots, which I thought would have dropped any other fighter out pretty much from where they're ranked on down to 10. Like, I don't think it drops Fergie, and I don't think it drops like Khabib, or maybe it does. It were two guys that wanted it so bad, and to me, the winners were the fans that got to watch this. Which fight stuck out to you?
I liked. I think it was 4 fights before the main event, but it was Brendan Allen and Kyle Daukaus. Man, these guys were. I don't even know what weight class it was necessarily, but these guys were going after each other, and they were honestly, they were doing the exact same thing to each other. They were level changing. They were swinging. They would, they wanted to get each other to the ground and then land elbows, and man, they literally opened each other up. Like, they both had giant gashes on their eyes. The Brendan Allen guy, he didn't even seem like he got hit, and then he was turned over. His eye was all like swollen shut. He had like a gash all the way up into his eye. He
had one above too, which is dangerously close to stopping the fight.
Daukaus had one over his eye, and then that was bleeding down to his eye.
Yes.
The other guy had one, like his whole left eye was like completely closed shut after one elbow. So they definitely were trying to do certain things to each other, and they were swinging. The one thing I was seeing is, I was hearing was that, with no fans there, just like in baseball when they had no fans for that one time in Baltimore when there were riots, there wasn't any sound to drown out the extra the Wi-Fi, the snap on it. Man, you heard some shots that were like bone to bone, and you're like looking for them to wince, and they're like not wincing at all. They're just like, I felt that one before. Oh man, it was like cracking sounds. I was like, I don't know if I really want to watch this right now.
You ever see like those old black and white films where someone punches someone in the face? You hear psh, 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 psh.
Yep.
That's what it sounded like. One of those old school films where you're like, that's not what a punch sounds like. You hear a thud. No, you heard the thud and the pop.
Yeah, it was gross. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
But how about that fight overall? How about like the takedown, the submission attempts, the guy on the ground just looking for submission attempts? How about this dude using both hands to wheelchair walk himself, back to the cage, finding ways to get up? It was a complete fight in terms of jiu-jitsu, in terms of good wrestling, in terms of MMA wrestling, in terms of submission of defense, and people looking for subs, man. That was, dude. I feel like someone that doesn't know anything about MMA, and I'm looking at everything, fight of the year, fight of the year, fight of the year.
I know, for everyone. I know. It's just good fights, though.
Man. Since we're still on the UFC, we're going to move on to the next thing. In a minute, but we got Fight Island, and we're going to talk about this next week because Fight Island's 2 weeks from now. It's going to be July 11th, and I wanted to put up the actual. I'm gonna put up the main card, but the prelims are good. The early prelims are good, but here's what we call the co-main event, and you and I actually agreed on as far as fight excitement, what's like the real main event. Even though I don't know, I gotta let you go first, man. Here's the main card. Out of these 5, which one are you looking forward to seeing? You could steal mine. I don't care.
Oh, I already think I know what I want to talk about.
I'm going to just zoom in on it. Go ahead.
Oh, man. Oh, you like Peter Yan and Jose Aldo? That's the one?
No. I'm going to you first. I'm highlighting what I think yours is.
That's mine, honestly. I like all of them. I really like the Volkanovski and Holloway, but Jose Aldo or Peter Yan, I was kind of thinking about that the other day, too. I was like, that fight is going to be great because I think Peter Yan has a lot to prove. And Jose Aldo, man, let's see if he still got it. He he went a whole different weight class now, and they say he looked great at that weight class. He did look pretty solid. I don't really like what he did, but
Yeah.
he's still a top flight fighter. So
He's
let's see. I think Peter Yan gonna knock him into another world though, because he's just a big, top, powerful dude that's quick, and man, it's gonna be interesting.
I think it's amazing how Aldo, I was going to say Loyola, how Aldo comes into some of these fights looking like bigger. Like you just found, his way to cut weight, and he looks more muscular and he looks bigger. But I'm like, is he starching people a bit low? And I'm like, wait, who's he fighting against? Is it Chad Mendez? Is it Frankie Edgar? Of course he's going to look bigger. And then Max, he looked like same size, if not smaller. And if you look at his 28-6 record, that's a legit record, because if people look at 28-6, they don't look at the 28 wins and all of the magnificent wins he has. But you look at some of these losses, like except for Conor McGregor, they're all pretty good fights. When he fought Max twice, those were good fights. He fought who's this dude out of Henry Coach Henry's camp in New Jersey. He trains with Frankie. Forgot that guy's name. Brazilian cat who actually trains in New Jersey. Had a close fight with him and Aldo, but it's going to be a good fight. Peter Yan is 14-1 right now, and I don't think that record's completely padded, but this is his biggest. Do you agree this is his biggest test to date?
Yeah. I mean, I think his last fight was pretty big too. That's why, from what I saw from the last fight, it was kind of like Weili Zhang, on the girl side, where you kind of didn't know about her, and then you saw it and you're like, oh, okay, this girl's for real. Peter Yan's like that for me. Like, I saw this guy fight and I'm like, oh, okay, that's like different. That's like a little extra something. He's got like extra little power. He's a little quicker than everybody else. Like, he's just a little extra than everybody. So, and now he's at the top. So mentality, I always say, when you become that champion, especially in UFC, your mentality starts to build, for the right type of people, but the mentality starts to build where you just get stronger and more confident in yourself. And I think that was like really true for a guy like Canelo Alvarez, where in the beginning of his career, he was great technically, but now he's almost unbeatable. I love to see him and Floyd fight now, because now his mentality as a champion is really at a certain level where, he's not going to break. He's going to find a way to, change his, movements when he needs to.
Yeah, and his ability to walk people down, like particularly defensive fighters, is going to be an interesting chess match between him and Floyd Mayweather. So the MMA fight I'm looking for, I'm down with Volkanovski and Max Holloway's rematch, because the first one was exciting and it was razor close, but I thought Volkanovski won that, and I'm glad Max, who was giving everybody his rematch, has finally gotten his. UFC got it right. They did the right thing. But the fight I'm looking for, if you asked me a year ago if it was Usman and Burns, I would have told you hell no, because sometimes you see Usman just dominate fighters and ride it out with what he does best, and some fans find that boring. I don't, but I did find one or two of his fights where I did see him lay and pray for a couple of rounds, not because he gassed, but because of how bad he needed the win. Because the man's African, he don't gas.
No.
Go ahead.
Kobe, he kind of he took his foot off the pedal. And it's kind of strange how, when a fight comes like that, where Kobe getting injured almost helped him out, because the other guy's like, well, I don't want to get knocked out, or I don't want to put myself in a tough position, because, he's only trying to like swing, for one shot to come back. Mm-hmm. And I felt like in that he kind of, just, eased up and took his victory. And I don't really, I mean, he put hurt on Kobe, but it definitely took a lot of time.
KO, fifth round.
That's what I'm saying, but it's just like he kind of just, I'm just going to take it easy, and I'm already won this fight, so I'm just going to take and pick. Because without that KO, I don't really thought like he put hurt on that. Like, there was one little area where he kind of like, beat him, but I don't really.
He broke his jaw. What are you talking about?
But he broke his jaw, and his hand was broke before that. That's why he wasn't throwing like a whole bunch of stuff, or his shoulder was busted. So that's what I'm saying is, once you find that out, once you see that, we all felt that. He felt that in the fight, and he kind of just, waited till the right moment. Instead of you could have just took him down. You could have literally, like, he has no movement in his arm. You know what I mean? So
that was my fight of the year last year.
Yeah.
You know why? They did a little.
I think it was because
they did a little secret handshake. two wrestlers who take people down or do dirty boxing and press people against the cage did an unofficial behind the doors handshake and said we're gonna stand and throw. My God, I just saw it. It's up on UFC, has it on Free Fights, and when you watch it the first time, you're just wishing someone would knock this kid's block off. You know, like, I mean, look, if someone told you they broke Kobe's jaw and his jaw got sewn shut, you're glad because you ain't got to listen to this dude's big mouth anymore. That was what Kamaru Usman did, was a service to humanity, all right? But in your defense, I'm disagreeing with you because I love that fight and that's my pick for fight of the year. Even though Adesanya against Gastelum was and you can name a couple off the top of your head too, but the one thing I like about this fight is that now Kamaru Usman is finally going against someone that he can't walk down, and now it forces his hand to perform like it did before. But in your defense, where I'm on your side, is if the one thing people remember about this fight is Kobe Covington's endurance and how big his heart was. If that was said more than Usman's performance, then you got a good argument. Because that's what everybody was talking about. Like, they couldn't believe this douchebag that everybody hated and wanted to see knock out. All of a sudden, the man won him some fans. Yeah. He had a broken jaw. He said, my jaw's broke. That was the second round, dude. And when they showed a replay of the hit, and I'm not going to put it up, I ain't trying to get shut down by the UFC. It looked like a cartoon. It looked like he knocked his block off. You know, but I guess that's what happens when people want to knock your block off. But yeah, looking forward to this, man. Looking forward to Fight Island. They had this nice little sunset picture with the cage. It's an outdoor cage. And as far as quarantining and as far as doing everything right, as far as COVID's concerned, I mean, if someone's coach has COVID, they out. The fight's canceled. I mean, Dana, they're doing the right thing. And this is what I'm talking about, how the science to reality and assume risk is concerned, and try to get to some sense of normalcy and do safe things as safe as you can. And like you said, assume risk is it's like it's all present, all knowing. It's omnipresent if it were a human being or a being, you know? All right, so.
But I do have to say
please,
that the UFC is different than these long drawn out seasons.
Yeah,
so
one-on-one.
It is, I just have to reiterate that it is a big difference where, you know, these UFC fights can go on and go off in 30 seconds, you know, or it could be, you know, 25 minutes, but it's still an end time.
And not multiple competitors too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just one-on-one, you know.
Right. The corner coaches are wearing a mask. Everybody, the only ones that are not wearing a mask are the fighters and the ref. And Bruce Buffer, who has plenty of social distancing when he's doing his thing. So
up until, you know, the fight, even, I mean, when they're talking with the ref, even, you know, and the refs, they're all meeting at the center of the ring, they have their masks on there. So you know, there's ample opportunity, and I don't
post-fight interviews, right? See the post-fight interviews.
This is not how, you know, things used to go for the UFC. You know, and granted, the UFC maybe has a little bit easier route to do that, but I don't believe just quarantining, you know, 22 teams of players in one space is the answer, and it's not going to be the answer for next year.
I can't disagree.
I'm gonna tell you that right now.
I can't disagree with you. It's just, listen, there's too many lurking variables, right? There's the UFC's one-on-one with a ref. And basketball, you're talking people on the bench, you're talking starters, you know, I mean, let's see. Our show is kind of like a first take thing. Like, what's your first reaction? And it comes from yours. I love yours because yours comes from a place of self-honesty, but it's also generated by facts. Right? I'm not gonna let the facts get in the way of a good story. Sometimes I mess with my own head like that. But listen, this is why we're on the show together, because I need you to save me from myself. All right, moving on. Okay, let's talk about something stupid or not so much. All right, Roger Goodell made a public apology on the handling of players kneeling, saying that it should have been handled better and earlier. I'm paraphrasing, of course. He further said that the NFL publicly condemns racism and echoed that Black Lives Matter. Yet there are pundits out there and their fans and their media and professionals, including LeBron James, who believe that he should apologize to Kaepernick. So my question to you, Rob, should Roger Goodell apologize to Kaepernick?
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think he needs to publicly apologize to Kaepernick. I think that needs to be happening behind closed doors, privately, like most of this stuff should have been happening. Um, I just feel as though that's a great step, but I honestly don't need an apology. What I need from Roger Goodell, a person in that area, is to explain the ways that in which you are going to help, and not by putting money into a cause, because that doesn't help. The idea is that we need concrete ideas and solutions, or an open platform to create those ideas and solutions so that we don't have to deal with this anymore. Because this doesn't have to be a reoccurring theme. This doesn't have to be oh, okay, we're going to apologize in another 3 years. We're going to apologize in another 5 years. All the power is in the consumers. All the power is in the businessmen that give to those consumers. So there is no more, like, we're in the age of technology. There is no more, oh, I didn't know what I said. Oh, I wasn't informed enough. Everything's out there. The information's out there. So it's time to make choices. That's all it comes down to. And silence is a choice, so he chose his. Now he's choosing the silence of the non-silence of apologizing and being a part of a movement. But now he has to be held accountable. He has to show his efforts going forward. And for somebody with not so much means, that would mean maybe you don't have to put in so much. But somebody with a lot of means, a lot of opportunities for other people, a lot of avenues in which you can help and change things, you saying Black Lives Matter and being a part of Black Lives Matter is something that should monumentally move it forward, as opposed to maybe somebody else who doesn't have that platform, who doesn't have that voice, who doesn't have the monetary backing to make things change. So, of course, I would love an apology, and I appreciate the apology. But, if we're talking about should the apology happen to Kaepernick, of course, it should have already happened. It should have happened before he apologized to everybody else, right? Because he was in contact with Kaepernick way before any of his message coming across. It was him and Kaepernick talking about your employment in the league being good or not. That's his message coming from the owners going to Kaepernick. So it should have been him first before it should have been about this movement, because now it's like you're pandering to the customer as opposed to actually meaningful discourse about you being sorry.
All right. Well, before I say yes or no on this, I like what you said about throwing money at a problem. Like you said, it doesn't help. And when you first said that, I said to myself, self, the money doesn't hurt either. But thinking further about what you said, if you don't have good ideas, if you don't have good solutions, if you don't have a game plan, I equivocate throwing money at a problem to throwing water in a trash bag that has 5 holes in it. Right? You throw the water in, comes out, you look in the trash bag, where's the water? Gone. Right? We've seen this presidential and political campaigns. We've seen people that had a ton of money thrown at their campaign, but it's not managed right, and it's sloppy, and then all that money is either kept by the politicians or through a legal loophole, or just a waste of money and time. So where I was ready to jump on you, I can't do it, Rob. Can't do it because, like you said, like I just said, money. Wasted money is basically money thrown at a problem with no game plan. Now, there are a bunch of ways you could say sorry, right? There's a way that I could say, like, if you're a relative, Rob, I'm sorry that happened to you. There's a way where you didn't have any money, and maybe I had a little bit of money and I chose to spend it somewhere else. Rob, I wish I could have done. I wish I could have helped you instead of doing the other thing. My bad. And then there's this general apology where the decision someone makes has a personal and a professional affliction on you. So to answer your question, yeah, but not really. He should say sorry, but not really. Not really, because if there was anyone that did fight for him to try it for other clubs and made the association with the general managers and say, hey, take a look at this guy and look at that guy. When the owners didn't give a shit, it was him. It was in fact Roger Goodell that was making a push for it. I think Roger Goodell, like you said, there are some people that don't know, and there's some people that should know, and then there's some people where the wrong thing has happened so long it's hidden in plain sight. Now, for you, it's the former. Roger knew, should have known better, and made his choice for his professional career. Because at the end of the day, as a commissioner, you are being paid and you're hired and you have to answer to the owners. And he could have made another decision and stood up to the owners and say, hey, this is what's happening, or you send me packing. And he could have went that way, and he did go that way. But I guess, like you said, because the political stream has gone a certain way, that the decision he makes is not only the right thing, but also partnership with the popular thing, which we both agree, right? Just because something's popular doesn't mean it's right. But in this case, it's both popular and right. So I do think he owes Kaepernick an apology in the sense that I'm sorry that I knew about this, and there was and I did some stuff, to make it look like I'm doing the right thing, but I didn't do enough. So I'm with you. At the end of the day, just wasted a whole bunch of the people's time listening to me pontificate about this. Yeah, should have apologized.
Well, I mean, but at the end of the day, I feel like because this is a reoccurring issue, and because this isn't the first time, this is the Kaepernick thing happened, and there's been many of protests and many of things that have happened between now and Kaepernick taking a knee, and it still hasn't been addressed, and only till now has it been addressed. It's just, it could have been handled so much better. Yeah. And if you really think about it, some people think this or some people think that about the protest or the anti-protesting or whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to take a step back and take a humanitarian look at things, because that's what comes first. Lives or living comes first. So, in the humanitarian aspect, nobody deserves to be treated any which way. Any criminal should go to jail. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they should go to jail. They should not be dead or alive, so that we can all live in peace. Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be a public. Yeah. Please go ahead.
But a great quote I heard the other day was just, if for you to be the tallest person, everybody else has to be on their knees. There's a big problem. So that's just the issue is, get over being short, be perfect in who you are, and just go on with your day.
Yeah, and stop bringing everybody else down, and stop waiting until there's a public outcry so you have to be shamed into doing something, which we see more cases than not. And this, as far as the marginality of being shamed, he was right there. He was right there. And anyone that says no, Jason, he was shamed into it, I'm not prepared to make an argument over that. I have opinions that slightly differ, but I don't think that someone's like, I'm not prepared to go to war for this guy. I mean, no.
I also think that helps my cause. The fact that you're saying that, kind of proves my point even more to the fact.
Yeah, because listen, there's one side that's completely sure. I mean, for me, the thing that makes me cool about this, I'm always willing to listen. And if as I continue to listen, guess what? I change my mind. Did people talk about how flip-flopping is a bad thing? Hell no, it's not a bad thing, Rob. I am a flip-flopper. When the facts and opinions and someone's critical thinking and opinion based on those facts changes my mind, guess what I'm going to do? I'm a flip-flop more than the morning on IHOP, my man.
Well, I'd say it even like this, just to piggyback on top of that. I'm not necessarily a flip-flopper. I love to be proven wrong. I love to be... I love to say whatever it is I have in my mind and unequivocally agree with that, because that's where I'm coming from with the knowledge that I have.
How many times have I walked away from this show and co-signed what you felt? And I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
You had a really good thought there. But how many times that I leave this show and I'm like, damn, maybe I got to come on the show next week and be like, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't think I'm with that dude no more.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily a flip and a flop, because I will hold very strong on what I believe. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to change what I believe, as long as you present me with the idea of what you're bringing down. Like, I'm not going to just change my idea when you bring up a subject. I'm going to ask you on that subject. I want you to teach me on that subject. I want you to make me learn and understand what's going on. And that's why I can't deal with people talking about all arguments this, arguments that. It should just be a conversation. You know, if you feel that you're correct in this conversation, then teach that person how to learn what you've learned. Make them understand what you've understood, as opposed to saying you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, and poking at the problem as opposed to creating the solution.
Yeah. With the common denominator just being listen. I mean, the problem with some of my smart friends, like really brilliant friends, they hear the first two words of a sentence because they're smart. They assume they know what the rest of the diatribe or soliloquy is going to be. And maybe 8 out of 10 times they're right, but the 2 times they're wrong, I'm just like, I want to punch you in the face, dude. You know?
Or you're just impeding progress. You know, you're impeding where you can move forward as a person, as opposed to, again, poking at the problem.
Yep.
You know, just look for yourself to be wrong. Look for a chance to improve yourself, other people.
Yeah.
It makes everything a lot easier.
Do you hear that horn? That horn went off twice. That is our segment saying that we're impeding its progress. And that segment, Rob, is good idea, bad idea. Let's see how good I got at this. Rob McLean. Woo, right away. You like that? I like that. Rob, good idea, bad idea. Oregon and Oregon State drop the Civil War term.
Good idea. I think that there's no need for that anymore. There's no need to have necessarily a battle of a civil war between two people. I understand where it comes from, but if you could find a better name for it, all for it. But if they stuck with it, I have no problem about that, because the Civil War, there's nothing problem with that. It's just necessarily the Confederacy itself and what it stood for. But, you know, I understand where, you know, people disagree. They stand up for their rights.
I think it's a bad idea, and I think we as Americans need to get over ourselves every time we hear terms that are like or whatever. No, I mean, Civil War doesn't mean American Civil War, right? If you look around the world, there are civil wars in every country. There's civil wars in Russia. There have been civil wars in Germany, East Germany, West Germany. There have been civil wars in America and in Oregon. In a sports sense, when Oregon goes against Oregon State, I am going to war against you. In the classic sense of the word, is Civil War. And I understand why they changed it, because of the political climate. I don't think it's a terrible idea, but I'm not one of these people that are just hopping on board because it is bandwagon fallacy, just because the premise of changing the term is popular, that it's right. Nope, they're gonna have to miss me on that one.
No, I agree with you on that. I don't like the whole, not to get off topic here,
no,
but
go ahead.
With the whole take down, Jesus statues and stuff like that.
Yeah, see how that works.
I don't agree with that, but I do agree with the fact that we do have to come to grips with the understanding that history has been whitewashed to a point where Jesus may not have been white. And I'm not saying that every statue is actual pastel white, but the figurine is of a white man. And I have no problem against Jesus, but Jesus doesn't have to be the figurine of that sculpture. Yeah. So I'm not with it.
I mean, according to the Bible, he looks more like you.
Exactly. So if we can come to the grips that history could look more correct as opposed to a certain direction or a certain way to not suppress necessarily others, but to make others conflate others, to make others seem more than what they are. And it's just no reason for it. Just either tell history or don't have history. That's where I'm laying on, And then if you're coming down to Confederacy, every time everybody has won, that's who tells the history. So how is it the loser in this case telling the history?
A bunch of losers.
It's all, that's all I'm kind of.
Yeah. Well, for me, listen, the Confederacy is the Confederacy, all right? We had a war about this thing. Relax, you're gone. As far as Jesus is concerned, I think people should consider whatever color they want, all right? If you look in the actual Bible, they say his feet were bronze, his hair was a wool. And if you look at the description of what Jesus looked like, he looked more like you than he looked like a blue-eyed hippie from California, okay? So with that being said, I don't make the leap that he was African American or he was black. He's just, if you go to the Middle East, if you go to Israel, if you go to Bethlehem, or if you go to these towns, everybody's dark.
Right.
Everybody's dark. So for some Nation of Israelite guy to automatically make the theological leap that he wasn't white, that he was black, because to them you're black or you're white. And in this country, I understand why someone would say that. You leave Jesus alone, okay? I mean, Jesus is up there. He wasn't designed to oppress. His whatever his skin tone
Right.
you think it is not designed to oppress anybody.
Right.
And for to take that down is trying to make everybody else make you parrot their free speech. Because
Totally.
it's reverse psychology, Rob. They're
Totally.
like, this is up there because they're trying to make you parrot their free speech. No, that's not what's going on. Taking that statue down is their way of trying to make you parrot their free speech. It's nonsense. And with the Jesus thing, Confederate thing, look, we won a war over that. And victory should be told. I mean, history should be told by the victors. Tear it down, but leave my man Jesus alone, man. Jesus is a chill dude, man. Who gives a f what color he was?
Just to finish that out, though.
Holy shit, it's Jesus. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that, with the Confederate statues,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's very demeaning, and it's also very disrespectful when you have literally statues still of white men pulling slaves through the street. That is a statue that is literally up.
Hidden in plain sight.
Right. So that I just have to disagree with. And for people to angrily take that down, I agree with that because it causes that. But for religion, when you're talking about that is an entity. And to take down a statue just because you think that'll change something else. If you have a Confederate statue in a town, that message is still there.
Yep.
But if you take down a statue of Jesus in that town, the church is still there. The message is still passed. So
Yep.
I think there is a much better way to go about taking down a very, like you're saying, a very civil message, and not a message of oppression, but maybe a message of supremacy in some ways, but not necessarily a message of oppression. You cannot angrily take that down. And I still think there's better ways to take down the Confederate statues.
Absolutely.
But yet again, over time, outrage does happen to come out, and I don't think that's everybody, but I do believe that's what's happened.
100%. And that's, dude, man, you got to come on my podcast, The Option. just drop in. I got Chris Austin this Wednesday, early. So for anyone listening in, listen in. 2-time NCAA champ, the author, and God knows what else. I'm very glad to have him on the show. And hopefully Ricardo later on. So topic 2, good idea, bad idea. Now we could get a little dumb. The Patriots getting fined for Spygate 2.0. Their production crew getting caught filming the other team's practices. This is the Cincinnati Bengals. Patriots getting fined and getting cost a draft pick 3rd round. Good idea, bad idea?
Well, good idea for the NFL because the Patriots do absolutely everything they can every single year to find the boundaries and push the line. So I think again this is just a great way for them to show where that line should not be crossed. But past that, for the Patriots, it's bad, man. They look bad yet again. What could they actually get from, the Cincinnati Bengals? There's literally nothing going on there but Joe Burrow. So why are you even videotaping them? So I don't even get what's going on there.
We're on the Cincinnati. Yeah. So listen, if you ever watched WWE back in the day during the attitude of past up to the WWE, when it was WWF, the Guerrero brothers, we lie, we cheat, we steal. We lie, we cheat, we steal. That is their way. That is the Patriots' way. And there's a reason why Bill Belichick is called Bill Belichick. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. $1 million, give me a Super Bowl ring, money well spent. Multiply that by 6.
Right.
Rob, whew. All right, breathe, Jay. Good idea, bad idea. Brett Favre said the Packers should use Jordan Love the same way the Saints use Taysom Hill. Basically, he's a quarterback being drafted with the Green Bay Packers. Good idea, bad idea?
Bad idea. I mean, only way it's a good idea is they use him in the capacity of which he could be good for, but they use Taysom Hill as like a wide receiver, a running back. I mean, Jordan Love is going to be a quarterback that has a great arm. He's not going to be an athlete who's going to run past people. And even if he is, he does not have the body frame that Taysom Hill has. Like, Taysom Hill literally looks like a linebacker. This guy looks like a wide receiver. It's a terrible idea.
Bad idea. Bad idea. Bad idea. Bad idea. Taysom Hill, I don't know what round he got drafted in, but Jordan Love, to my recollection, Rob McLean, got drafted the first round, okay? You don't take your first round draft pick and make him a wideout and put him in all these places of danger. And particularly in this landscape, in this political and racial landscape, when a guy's doing a podcast in Mississippi talking about an African-American quarterback drafted the first round to play another position is asinine, it's ass 10, it's ass
11.
That was great. I was right at the horn, my man. All right. Hey, that concludes. Ooh, whoa. One more. Good idea, bad idea. Maybe we won't even make it 30 seconds in on this. Mississippi, the state of Mississippi to remove the Confederate emblem from the state flag. Good idea, bad idea, Rob?
I mean, of course, it's a good idea. Like we were saying before, the Confederacy is something that is a symbol for many things, but also for many, some good things, but also for some bad things. So in totality, it has to go away. And it's continuing to go away, whether it's NASCAR or here and others in the Mississippi state flag. But it's about time. It's about time.
Listen, good idea. When you have the SEC, who's basically South dominated in Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, and the SEC gets in your behind and says, I have a problem with the Confederate flag, and all of that revenue that college football brings into the state of Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, guess what? They're going to get right or they're going to get baroque, okay? Because the SEC, who runs the world? Not girls. The SEC runs the college world, and whatever they say goes. That is the end. That is the end, my man, of good idea, bad idea. Great job on that one, man. All right, so before we go, any shout outs, anything, any particular documentaries or just anything you want to say to your people out there? Or
stay healthy, man. Just stay up, keep being safe, keep working out. Keep trying to stay healthy, eat healthy. Good things will be coming.
No doubt. Hey, for me, my shout out goes to bringing it back to volleyball. Okay, there was a little small mini tournament going on called the Eric Zahn Scholarship Fundraiser. It was put together by Travis Muritter, who actually was a journalist at the SEC and now is covering volleyball and is actually an active player and made the main draw a couple of times, or more times than a couple. Along with Stafford Slick, AVP champ, along with who was the AVP champ with Stafford Slick and with Billy Allen and Katie Spiller. The three of them got together and played and kind of did something that looks like this. Little bit
There's
of
a nice jump. That's Andy Bunesh.
Little bit of King of the Court.
Baranek.
There's Dave Palm, came from Florida. A lot of people, like you said,
Adam
traveled.
Roberts.
And talking about assumed risk and some things that are smart ideas, dumb ideas. Some people would consider this a dumb idea. But if you're going to do something that you consider not smart, at least it's for a cause. And at least, some kid out there, maybe, I don't know if it goes to an academic case. I certainly hope it goes to volleyball players because colleges Division I only offers 4.5 scholarships for men's volleyball. We're the bastard children of indoor men's sports. And shout out goes to them. There's a documentary called Believeland, which talks about the long storied history of Cleveland and all of their franchises, but I think that could wait another week. That could wait till next week. LeBron ain't going nowhere. Surely the Browns ain't going nowhere. Cavaliers ain't going nowhere, and they'll be there waiting for us next week, all right? And I hope all of you will be waiting for us there next week. I hope all of you have enjoyed this episode this week as much as you will next week, all right? For all of you at home, for all of you that stood online at Starbucks on your iPad watching us, for all of you on your iPhones, for all of you on your desktop, I am old school. We rule the world. For Rob, keep it McLean. This is episode 23 of Sports Debate Tuesday. I am Jason DeBeas, and I say, we're out. OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.